Hello everybody, it's yet another week, and Tru Gamer Dimensions, the Solo-cast is back. And as you can tell, it's quite a few days late. That's because I've had to reschedule the upload date of when I'm going to have Tru Gamer Dimensions available. And I decided on a few factors, one of which was not my choice. That kind of held me aside. I usually it can be seen on a friend of mine's YouTube channel, Notebook Entertainment, where he does a series of videos, one of which is FML, and I did some shooting with him for that. And I don't like to turn him down. If I can make it, I go over there to just have fun, but also support my friend, and just to have basically to build experience as far as kind of acting a little bit. It's fun, but also kind of lets me to get out of my shell as just being a gaming and just a critic in general, to kind of play around with what I can and can't do. So that kind of interfered on Wednesday, and none of that, but a few other things I had to get done. So the long and short of it is, I've decided that Saturdays will be a much better and easier day for me to get Tru Gamer Dimensions out. So I apologize for it taking me so long, but I can guarantee you Saturday will be the day in order to watch and or listen to Tru Gamer Dimensions, the Solo-cast. Now, as you can tell by the background video this week, the game of the week is Smite. Yes. For Digital High recently, me and Vince and I, we interviewed the COO of H1Z1 Studios for their game Smite. And we had a complete blast with the guy, and he couldn't be any nicer. And I highly recommend you go to entertainmentfuse.com and find the podcast Digital High and listen in on it, the latest one. We had to skip this week because Vince was under the weather, so the current and latest one is actually last week's episode of Digital High. But that is with the COO of H1Z1 Studios regarding Smite, our interview with him, and him just being a really nice guy and telling us how it came to be and what to look forward to in the future. Smite is a free-to-play MOBA that breaks way out of the box by no longer being a top-down, bird's-eye view sort of MOBA, which it's click, 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 basically a Dota clone, which consists of a lot of different games. You've got Infinite Crisis coming up, you've got Strife coming up, you've got Heroes of Storm coming up, currently out, you have Dota 2, you have League of Legends, the list goes on. This one decides to break the mold entirely and change the game, or change the genre in a big way. As you can tell, it's actually a third-person perspective, and not only that, but everything from actually just hitting somebody to using your skills is all skill-based. You have to line up the shots, you have to get the timing right, everything is skill-based. There's nothing on there that just allows you to click on somebody. Even things such as Neith's ult and Athena's ult, they have to highlight somebody. And you can mess up. If your timing's off, you can either, basically the person gets away, or with Athena's ult, the person you're trying to ult on just simply dies and you waste your ult. It is a fantastic game. You simply just go to, basically if you just Google Smite, it'll pop right up. But if you want the entire thing, it is in fact www.h1zstudios.com/Smite. That'll bring you right up to it. But if you simply just Google Smite, it'll pop right up right away. Now, why should you play it? It's an incredibly great game. It's incredibly fun. It's incredibly fast-paced. And it rarely gets boring at all. I've usually found myself, I've played League of Legends for about 3 or 4 years now, and constantly I'd be bored, just simply because you're just following the meta. You know, top lane's only one guy, mid lane's one guy, jungler, 2 in the bot lane, and everybody's just kind of following a script almost. Rarely does anything really change. And that's true with one game mode within Smite, that's Conquest. Within Arena and Joust, just those two alone, the game changes quite a bit. Joust is a single lane map. There is a side jungle, but it's usually just for buffs. Arena, there are jungle buffs, but there's not really much of a jungle. It's pretty much a deathmatch, but taken a little bit differently. To say deathmatch is actually a bit wrong, and that's because there's no real one way to explain it. What it is, and I know there's a game mode type out there, but the problem is many different games decide to change it up in different ways. What it is basically ticket based. Whoever runs out of tickets first loses, and all you do is by getting kills and not dying and getting your minions into the enemy portal. If you get your enemy team to 0, you win. That's it. So it's an incredibly fun game. Smite, play it, and just simply enjoy the game. I will also include in a link to go straight to Smite, so it'll be nice and easy for you. So simply look for the link down below and click away and have fun. Now, let's get on with it. News. I want to get the sad bit out of the way. This is something out of my comfort zone, but something that affected me slightly. I don't want to say in a personal way, anything like that. But still, it affected me because he was a fantastic entertainer. John Pinette. I want to say Panay, but I believe it is Pinette. He died recently, which is a very sad thing. John Pinette was apparently. It's still hard to say that because he was a great entertainer. He was a fantastic comedian, and to hear that he died was quite devastating for the comedy industry. Basically, he was very iconic. He was actually quite famous. He wasn't as big as, let's say, Gabriel Iglesias, but still he was a well-known and well-loved comedian. And you've probably known him from a few things. If you've seen the Punisher movie, that's one reason a lot of people know him. He is it's hard to say any other way, he was a fat guy in Punisher. He was a very large gentleman. And that's probably the reason why he died. Apparently, what was the cause of his death was a pulmonary embolism. So, which was very sad. He's found dead in his hotel room in Pittsburgh where he was, quote, attending a family function. He was 50 years old, and it was actually quite sad because I believe he's in the middle or just about to start a new tour of different comedy clubs. And if you have never seen John Pinette's stand-up comedy routine, there are 2 specials on Netflix right now. There's John Pinette Hungry, and I believe it's just Hungry, or I'm Hungry, and then there's Still Hungry. Watch them both. I highly recommend both. John Pinette was a fantastic comedian. If I am messing up his last name, I completely apologize. It's just that's something I do. Sometimes I don't say a person's last name correctly if it's said that way. And it doesn't help. You can once you listen to him in his routine, you can tell he's highly Italian. And whenever someone has an old language last name such as that, you don't want to butcher it up. So if I have been saying it and it's Panay instead of Panette, I apologize. I do not mean any sort of disgrace or anything like that. He was one of my favorite comedians of all time, and to hear that he died was incredibly sad. And the world's just a little bit less funny because he's no longer around with us. So let's go on to something a little bit more interesting, a little bit not good, but less depressing. Sony Online Entertainment announced H1Z1. Now, originally this was thought to be a sort of hoax or prank, and which is making fun of the H1N1 virus. And in fact, it was sort of a viral campaign or to get the game kind of talked about a little bit. H1Z1 is going to be along the lines of PlanetSide 2, which will be a free-to-play game, but within 4 to 6 weeks they should have a working version of the game where you can pay $20 in order to play this game, which I'm going to get onto that real quick here, and then I'm going to go back to what I was talking about as far as H1Z1. That seems actually very interesting to me because you're supporting the game, but you're paying $20 in order to play a game that's going to be free to play later on. So if you're impatient, you can pay $20 and play the game as it develops. You can probably also have an impact on it simply because you're funding the game. That being said, it's Sony Online Entertainment. They're not really struggling for money. They have games such as PlanetSide 2. They have EverQuest Next coming up. You know, this is not a small-time company. They are far from being considered indie at all. Not only that, but they're still probably making money off of other games such as DC Universe Online and EverQuest. Possibly EverQuest 2, but EverQuest recently made a comeback, and there's quite a few players playing that game. And that being said, let's get back on track. H1Z1 is supposed to have quite a few unique things that are going to be a big letdown for a certain indie game called The Dead Linger. If you know what The Dead Linger is, some of these will sound actually quite familiar. First off, it's a persistent MMO that can hold thousands of players and servers we host. Yes, there will be multiple servers with very different rule sets. Why is that a good thing? It means a thriving economy. Oh yes, there's trading. It also means you have potential allies in an all-out war on the infected, and many an enemy as well. That may not sound like too much like Deadlinger, but what I will say next will. The game offers a sandbox style of gameplay with a character progression system, scavenging, and an access to a, quote, very deep crafting system, unquote, allowing players to make a variety of weapons such as firearms, Molotov cocktails, explosives, and other fun surprises. Players will be able to build shelters from resources they scavenge from the world and work with other players to construct fortresses, complete with weaponry to help defend against both the infected and other players. So basically right there, if you've played the Deadlinger, you're very well aware you can do things such as take a simple board of wood, and while using a hammer, you can hammer it to any flat surface, or any surface in general, allowing you to make whatever you want, pretty much from a series of boards and things of that nature. You can also, as Deadlinger players, you know you can do things like cover up windows using just plywood and cover up open windows that way. So with that, looks like the Deadlinger may be suffering, because if you have not seen H1Z1 currently, I highly recommend you go and find a video of it. There are several out there, and go witness the game, because it currently puts H1 or the Deadlinger to shame as far as visuals. Not only that, but they're also talking certain things like being able to set the world on fire. You can set buildings and trees and things like that on fire, and that's where dynamic lighting is going to take in, where it's going to be more like DayZ in that regard. If you are out at night without a light source, it'll be damn near impossible to see anything out there. Certain quotes I'm going to go through about the game are just to kind of get you hyped up for it. I'm interested, but I'm not looking into purchasing the game for $20. If anything, I will just simply wait for it to come free to play and enjoy it that way, as I have enjoyed PlanetSide 2. Now, here are the quotes. We're going to make sure your zombie apocalypse fantasy is complete. The main thing that differentiates H1Z1 from the other great games in the genre is the emphasis we are putting on player ownership and building. We want you to be able to form roving gangs that are headquartered out of an abandoned warehouse that you've taken over, or a house you've built from scratch, after having cut down trees and secured the resources to make it. We are giving players the tools to make their own towns, camps, and defenses, and they can decide how to set up their base, which is in the world, by the way, not instanced. So you can take that as you see fit. That's not going to be, they're not talking about it's going to be instant. So this could also be them testing out how EverQuest Next is going to play out, where you could basically set up an entire town and fulfill the Walking Dead fanfics as you see fit. I'm going to give this game some hope, but they're talking about it quite a bit in a way that others have. You've got games such as 7 Days to Die and Rust and DayZ, obviously, the Deadlinger. This is not a genre that has few competition. There's quite a bit, and they're already been established. That being said, it's Sony Online Entertainment. They're very well known. They have the resources. They have the power. They have the potential. They have the record of doing this. PlanetSide 2 is still considered, if not the number one, close to being the number one free-to-play shooter, or just simply free-to-play game out there currently. And they still have other games such as EverQuest and EverQuest 2, and down the road EverQuest Next coming out. This is not a small company that is not aware of the pitfalls and perils of going into this type of genre. For them to go from PlanetSide 2, which is simply a sci-fi shooter, to a zombie survival shooter isn't that much. It's just simply the features and mechanics, such as the crafting system and how trading will work out amongst other players. Now, what do I recommend about this game? I'd stay tuned. If you are hard up on a zombie survival game and you have $20 to burn, you may want to get it. But there are, like I said, there's other games out there. 7 Days to Die, Rust, DayZ. Those have been alright for a while. They're not just simply, hey, we exist. People know about Rust and 7 Days to Die and DayZ. So That being said, we'll see how it plays out. I think it'll do fantastic because, again, it's Sony Online Entertainment. They can do it. They will do it. It's very unlikely that they will fail at this, especially because it's another free-to-play game, because that says millions of people will be ready to go in possibly day one. So, and as far as we've ever heard, they've rarely had problems with online games. Now, next. This is a very happy note. This is an indie game that I personally love. It failed its Kickstarter, and I hate to say that word, but that's truth. They just simply didn't meet their Kickstarter goal. But now they are going to happen. Citizens of Earth have found a publisher, Atlas. This couldn't happen any better because Atlas backing such a game as Citizens of Earth, perfect. It makes just so much sense. If you have played Citizens of Earth in their current build, it is basically Earthbound 2.0. If you've never played Earthbound, I feel sorry for you. This is a fantastic JRPG style, which turn-based combat, but not only that, but they have a few unique mechanics. They have a very wide assortment of characters to play from. The fact of the matter is, you actually control the Vice President of Earth, and you recently go back to your hometown and find out people aren't happy with you except for your family. You start off with simply your brother and your mother, but then you start to build out a very wide cast of people in order to fight your battles for you because you're a politician. So you don't fight, your family members and friends and fellow citizens of Earth fight for you. And like I said, it is style of Earthbound, so if you get the upper hand on somebody or an enemy before the battle starts, you will start off with an advantage. If, however, they get the upper hand on you and either attack the vice president directly or what have you, then you'll start off with a disadvantage. It's nothing too major, nothing too minor, just simply something to kind of keep you on your toes. Not only that, but once you reach a certain level of experience, you're too powerful for the local critters in the area. Then every time you attack one of them, they just simply die. It's just, they automatically say, you know what, you're going to beat them anyways, you win. Here you go, here's your experience, here's your money, just get going, just keep going, it's too easy for you, let's just keep going faster. So that allows you to kind of know, well, every time I try and fight something this level, or in this area, I just simply win automatically. So we're going to go to the next area. It's perfect of basically saying, get going, don't hang out here. So this is fantastic news. As you can find, Citizens of Earth, PS4, not PS3, PS Vita, Wii U, Nintendo 3DS, and Steam. So PC and current gen Sony and Nintendo current gen people, you are lucky you can play Citizens of Earth when it releases. We're going to do something a little bit different. Usually I talk about 2 comics and go on from there, but I'm going to change it up. I was given a preview of an upcoming comic book called Dream Police, the first issue. Now, Dream Police comes from Image Comics. It is written by J. Michael Straczynski, who is the writer of 10 Grand and Protectors Inc., both of which I absolutely love. I find 10 Grand to be a fantastically written comic book series, and Protectors Inc. is always wanting me to find out what's going to happen next. The artist is Sid Kotian, or Kotian. He is actually on my pro side because he actually is the artist for Apocalypse Al, which I find to be very well drawn. I love the art style of that. That being said, Dream Police has the potential of being possibly the best of Image Comics. I know that's a big thing. But with those two combined, we have a very powerful and high amount of potential with this comic book series. The first release date, or the first issue release date, will be April 30th. So look forward to that then. Now, Dream Police is in the style, or the writing style of a detective novel set in the dreamscape where dreamers go to relive past events, envision the future, but no matter what, they're always having a good time, whatever they are doing. The people we have for protagonists are Lieutenant Detective Joe Thursday with his partner Frank Stafford. They've been partners since they started, but how long ago was that? Joe doesn't remember, doesn't care, and it doesn't matter. And that is a matter for a later issue, in fact. I won't spoil it for you, but the ending of the first issue raises quite a few questions. Our story revolves around, currently, Joe and his partner. That doesn't mean we are left with a short list of characters. While things appear normal in Dream Police, or within Dream Police headquarters, we are quickly shown a humongous dragon in custody. This is then followed up by a dreamer suffering from a bad dream, brought about through what could be defined as artistic choice. Basically, a changeling was bored and wanted to spice things up. Things change quickly when Joe tires of things and alters the changeling's decision regarding how this particular dream plays out. This results in the introduction to a new denizen of the dreamscape, a nightmare. This character is best thought of as a grim reaper in this world, feared and no one dares defy him or it, since we have no indication of whether being female or male, but does give a heavy male tone to its presence. Throughout the first issue, we are given great artwork, fantastic flow, even while chaos ensues, and even more questions that will leave readers begging to be answered in the next issue. Dream Police will make a fine addition to any comic book reader stack. It has action, mystery, and a fair amount of tough comedy usually found within cop-related content. Now, I recommend you pre-order it as ASAP, as I'm going to give it, right now as a preview, a 9 out of 10. I have already asked for this to be added to my stack, and I cannot wait for issue 2 to come out. So, Dream Police, get it, pre-order it, tell your local store you want it added on, you want it. This is going to be a great series. Next, I'm going to wrap it up here with a review of Captain America Winter Soldier. This is not just a straight-up review. I try to keep these a little bit more informal and short and straight to the point. What did I think about Captain America Winter Soldier? It was alright. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying it's the typical standard of Marvel Studios sort of film. It's neither mind-blowing nor is it absolutely boring. It has a lot of action and an incredible amount of fights and looks fantastic. That being said, there are a few things I'm not a big fan of it. The first thing I had to crack a joke about is the fact that Scarlett Johansson continually has to be seen wrapping her legs around bad guys because they have to make that quota for Black Widow erotic fanfic. I mean, come on. If they make a quota, then, they have to reshoot the entire movie. That being said, yes, Black Widow has a heavy presence in this movie, as she is one of the most badass female characters to be introduced to the Marvel Universe. That being said, hopefully once Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy is shown, then we will have somebody that can actually do things without basically just trying to over-sexualize being a badass female character in the Marvel Universe. If you think I'm wrong, look at the poster with Captain America, Nick Fury, Black Widow, and Winter Soldier in it. Black Widow is, I don't know what the fuck pose she's doing. It kind of bugs me every time I see it. It's like, really? Does she really need to be in that kind of pose? I thought we were, she's supposed to be a badass spy, not a lingerie model. The Falcon is a joke as far as a character within this movie. He makes Hawkeye look like a badass. And we are kind of showing that right away. It's just demeaning to what Captain America kind of does to him in the introduction. We see a guy jogging in Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C., and all of a sudden somebody comes sprinting up by him, and we hear, clears a bell, Captain America, on your left, and again, on your left, and again, on your left, and again, on your left. We get it. Captain America's a super soldier. He puts any normal man to shame. That being said, there's nothing redeeming of the Falcon here. It's actually quite hilarious, wherein Nick Fury is quoted saying later on, I won't say where, I won't say when, I won't say why, or in what the setting is, but Nick Fury says, I could use a man with your skills. What skills, Nick? There's actually a scene, basically the one good fight scene the Falcon has. He gets whooped badly. I mean, the only reason he wins the fight is basically Deus Ex Machina, a force majeure, if you will. He doesn't win outright. If what was going to happen didn't happen, he probably would have died. The guy who was beating him pretty well would have just killed him. And that being said, the Falcon only shines when he has on his flight suit. That is all it is. It's a simple flight suit. Basically a jetpack, but with wings, allowing him to make all sorts of great aerial acrobatic stunts and maneuvers, which is fine. That looks great, but at the same time, it's just saying, it's shown right then and there. There's actually a spot where the Winter Soldier does something to the suit and basically shows the Falcon can't do anything. So the Falcon is a complete joke in this movie. He really is. Throughout the entire movie, you get the general sense Black Widow just needs to bang Cap and get it out of her system. She's always trying to hook him up with somebody, and at the same time, there's a lot of tension between the two, and it's actually borderline sexual tension. But it's Marvel, so of course it's Disney content. So basically, it's just he thinks that she's pretty, and she thinks he's just adorable man meat. So, that being said, it's not terrible. They also have a few little Easter eggs involving Cap and a few characters. Now, this is not going to be a 100% spoiler, but possibly could be conceived as one. About halfway through the film, the Winter Soldier recognizes a connection he has with Cap. But this doesn't happen until after a rather intense duel between the two souped-up soldiers. This is a problem because why didn't Winter Soldier notice Cap long before when they had a late-night meeting and upon a roof involving Cap's shield being thrown at, but instead being caught by the Winter Soldier? That was in the trailer. You can see that in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. You can clearly see the Winter Soldier catching Cap's shield, looking at Captain America, and also later on, Captain America looks back. They make eye contact. If a guy looking at you making eye contact and you know him, it's usually pretty easy to make that connection. It doesn't help it's a very well-lit night scene. So why all of a sudden it requires a certain thing to be said, I won't say what, or where it's being said, and what the context is, but simply basically, it's an annoying scene to people that will just go, wait, what, did magic happen? It happened because Mickey Mouse said so? Moving on. Now, in the Avengers, we see Thor striking Cap's shield. Basically, which would beat the other one, Mjolnir or Captain America's shield? Now, here's my question. Why is it that Thor striking Cap's shield with the mighty Mjolnir appears to have a reduced effect when compared to a common grenade fired from the Winter Soldier's rifle? Have we really gone so far in weapons technology today that a grenade can hurt a super soldier more than a mythical hammer created by a far more advanced race of aliens? Come on. When you see the scene, basically Captain America flies about a city block and off a bridge even, when just simply blocking against a grenade fired by the Winter Soldier. Now, how is it Mjolnir strikes Captain America and he's not becoming basically a giant crater in the ground, but a simple common grenade fired from, I believe, an M16 at Captain America causes him to go flying away. He even goes to the point he loses control of the shield. Do we have a continuity problem, or is Captain America just getting old all of a sudden? It doesn't make a lot of sense. It could be debated that he was tired during the scene, but he's Captain America. He has an incredible metabolism. He can't get drunk, for God's sake, so he can drink and drink and drink. That doesn't mean he's going to get tired that incredibly easy. Moving on. Final word on this movie, a lot of action, the standard amount of humor, Stan Lee squeezing in to this movie due to his connection with the Falcon, not Captain America. And a major change to the Marvel Universe makes this movie worth watching for, but not worth taking a sick day off just to go see it. I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. It's good, but I just don't think it's great. And it just serves to... It doesn't help that I'm not a big fan of the fact they know how well this one does and will do, and as well as the next Marvel will do, that they've already announced they're doing a third Captain America film. What is it going to be about? I don't think even they know about it. They're just like, oh yeah, we're going to do a third one. What's it going to be about? Stuff. Captain America beating up Nazis. It goes to say that's what the current state of Marvel is regarding movies. They're not terrible, but the same thing, they're not doing phenomenal. They're still worth going to see, but if you're a comic book geek, and especially a fan of Captain America, you're pretty much going to know what's going to happen anyway, so just slightly deviating away. It should be recognized that it's actually pretty unique. I'm going to do a minor spoiler here, but it's for the sake of bringing up an interesting topic involving the Marvel film universe. Now, it's been known that within the film, or the film series and film franchise of the Avengers and everything, that they're trying to stick more with the technological aspect of it all rather than magical. Such as Thor's race isn't really magical, they're just simply technologically advanced, and so on and so forth. But that being said, they actually say that a bad guy group is going to target certain somebody that is purely magical. That person is Stephen Strange, aka Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange is 100% magical based. Now, if they're going to introduce him into the film side of the franchise, how will that be? Will they break the technological 100% side of it? And will they finally bring in some magical thing? Or will they just make up something like, oh, he's got nanomachines and that gives him super telekinesis? So, we will see about that. And that's the only spoiler I'll do. Like I said, it's worth watching, but if you've got a $5 time or special deal going on at your local theater, go see it then. Otherwise, just wait a little while for it to get on Redbox or Netflix or straight to DVD or or when it releases to store shelves on DVD, Blu-ray, and that's it. So, this has been Tru Gamer Dimensions. I hope to hear from you. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you need to get a hold of me and tell me what you think, what you like, what you don't like, if you prefer Wednesdays over Saturdays, please let me know. The fastest way, of course, is on Twitter at Aaron, that's 2 A's, R-O-N, _ GGF. Let me know what you think, and if you want me to review more comic books, more video games, more movies, or if you just simply don't like my review of either Captain America Winter Soldier or my preview of the comic book Dream Police. For now, I'm Aaron, the Gaming Godfather. Yes, I've decided to keep that, and I will talk at you guys later.